Listen to all that life out here. All the birds. After a long Wisconsin winter, I'm ready. I'm so ready to be out here. Guten gardening, everybody. You know, I absolutely love my job as a teacher, but it's because of how busy I am with that job that today is the first day I've been able to get outside during this 70 and 80 degree weather here in Zone 5, Wisconsin. And I gotta tell you, it's absolutely astonishing to me how quickly our trees, our perennials out here can go from nothing to greening up. It's just so quick. I absolutely love that. So today, I've got a lot of work to try to accomplish. I think, from what I hear, there's the potential of snow on Monday. So again, I'm not bringing out my seedlings yet, but I've got a bunch of stuff here that's already blooming. I want to show you those first signs of spring, again, here in Zone 5, Wisconsin. And I also want to show you some of the plants that we overwinter, because there was a question that someone had about our garlic that we have planted that overwintered out here. So, well, I'm busy today. I got a ton of cleaning up to do, and I really want to show you these plants that are developing. And I'm going to start off with some of our first fruiting perennials, and that is our honeyberry. Now, we've talked a little bit about our honeyberries in previous videos, but it's pretty astonishing how quickly they develop blossoms out here. In fact, I'm going to show you up close here in just a second, but these are the honeyberries. If you've never heard of them, they're like oblong looking, blueberry colored fruits that are on here. A little bit of a different taste though, and much easier to grow. Not nearly as particular with the soil as blueberries. So these are the alternatives that we planted now about 4 years ago. Now it is mid-April here, and while a lot of our other plants just have the beginnings of green on them, as you look at these honeyberries, you can see all throughout there are blossoms all over. You see these nice yellow flowers here? That's where we're going to see our fruit coming in. And our expectation typically is that we're getting fruit off of these ripened around late May, early June, depending on the weather. And just a really positive development here in early spring. Now that's not the only berry that's starting to develop leaves and fruit on there as well. Take a look at our currants and our gooseberries. We're growing 3 different kinds of currants. We have a black currant, a white, and a pink currant. Lots of nice leaves on here coming out. This is probably developed over the last week plus, where we see most of this development. And what I will say is the white currant and the pink currant seem to be a little bit farther along. They're getting the little bunches of fruit before our black currant. They also happen to taste better if you want to eat something fresh off the vine than the black currant, which is typically more useful for things like jelly, jams, etc. And one of the best tasting fruits I think that you can grow with ease, these are our gooseberries. And those gooseberries, you got to be careful because they will get you. They got those 3/8 inch or so thorns on them. You got to be careful. But I think this might be a plant that in the future we have a second one of, because I love the taste. They're beautiful. They produce so much fruit every single year. Now, of course, behind me we have some of our raspberries, and we did all of the raspberry pruning last season. Now, if you didn't do the pruning last season, whether you have a summer bearing or a fall bearing raspberry, we have 2 different videos talking about the ways to prune them back. And you can actually tell really easily now, if you didn't do it in the fall, which ones need to be pruned back. So I'll put a link to those videos in the description. They're very helpful in understanding the life cycle and how the different varieties of raspberries grow. But let's take a look at the development on these. This is our summer bearing black raspberry. All of these are our floricanes, our second-year canes. This is where we're going to get the development of fruit. You can see the green all the way out to the tips of these. Later this season, we'll start to see the development of some more first-year canes, some primicanes out of here, and then that will produce fruit for us next season. But these are all going to produce fruit this season, except I see a little problem right here. You see this cane has no growth on it at all? This is actually growing in a pretty tight space. We tried to contain it, and we didn't want the vines to grow over against our house. So we gently tried to hold them back, but this one, under the weight of the winter or what have you, actually snapped right here. So you can see from this point forward, it's been cut off, it's dead, but from this point down, there's plenty of life there. Anyway, here in a couple of weeks, this is going to be perfectly green. The same can be said for this black raspberry plant, which is right next door to our other. Now, this one was planted by allowing some canes to come over and rest right across the ground here. And where the tips of those canes touched, we ended up with brand new plants. So they're easy to create new plants from. In fact, you have to be more careful to not let it spread too far, more than to actually keep it alive. And you can see what I mean right back in here. There are a whole bunch of little shoots popping up from our raspberries, and we're gonna dig those up and put them into containers, and we'll sell some of those to any neighbors who want them. That's a really nice benefit, but if we let them grow, they would take over our bed. So you do have to keep that in mind. There's a little bit of maintenance required. I'm gonna show you a plant right down in here, and I've talked about it before. I've talked about it as a plant that self-seeds very vigorously. See if you remember what it is. Leave a comment if you know. I haven't planted this in about 3 years, but there's a whole bunch of it in here. If you know what this is, let us know in the comments. I'm going to be digging this up and putting it into pots as well. No hints on this one. So you're seeing our raspberries come back to life. There's the fall-bearing raspberries behind us. We've got some of our golden raspberries as well. But how about some of our fruit trees? Like our 3-in-1 apple tree right here. We're just now starting to see the greens come out on this. Our main concern with an apple tree like this is that it blossoms before the last frost, and we have to end up coming out to protect any of the blossoms on here. We don't want to lose those. But one of the things we've found is that a nice floating row cover works really well to protect from a frost. We've used that in the past for sure. Now let's take a look at our peach tree. This is the tree that doubled in height last season. I'd say we're about 15 feet in height now, but you'll notice this variety doesn't spread very wide. And last season we got a grand total of 3 peaches off this tree. This season we're setting our expectations a lot higher. Take a look at this plum tree. All these blossoms that are about to open up. See all that white on there? This is one of the prettiest trees, I think, in the garden. Well, even though this isn't one of my favorite plants, these are hostas right here. They're starting to come up in our flower garden. In prior years, we didn't really focus on the flower aspect. We focused so much on trying to grow as many vegetables as possible, but then you start thinking about attracting those pollinators and the importance of pollinators, and it just makes sense to allocate some space, at least in our minds. Well, as I said, I have a ton to get done today, so I can't really spend too much time out here recording. You can see all of the vines that I have to tear down. These are some tomato vines behind me. I'm gonna tear those down. I'm gonna create a nice big pile, and I'm going to mow over them and put them in our compost. Typically, when it comes to our compost, any vegetables that I've left out over the winter that I didn't pull up, so I left them out there for the insects to have a home, etc., as long as they weren't diseased, they're gonna get chopped up by the mower and put into our compost. And we're gonna be harvesting a lot of our compost this season. I'm really excited to get some of that out and not buy compost if we can help it, instead of what we've had to do the last couple of years. I really want to add a lot of that life to our garden here in the next couple of days. Now, before I go, I wanna show you our garlic. Now, we planted our garlic in 3 spots in this 3x6 raised bed, in these half-cut 50-gallon plastic drums that are wrapped in black plastic, and in one of our longer raised beds. And a question that came up was, would the garlic actually die because these are in raised beds? And there was the fear because they weren't in ground from some of our viewers that they might die. Well, let me show you what we've got. I'm gonna be pulling up this hay in the next couple of days, but you can see the garlic coming through really nicely. This is in, there you go, you can see it right there. This is in our 50-gallon plastic drum that's been cut in half, so it's already coming up here. We planted some of our green garlic in here. Oh, there you go. You see all these multiple points coming up here. So I'm gonna be, again, pulling back. There you go, there's some more of it right there. That green garlic's gonna be ready here in a couple of weeks. Now that green garlic, and actually all the garlic that we got this past season, is from Keen Organics, Keen Garlic. And the green garlic is for the greens itself. It's something you can get early on while you're waiting for the other garlic to actually develop cloves. Let's take a look at our bigger bed. And you see we did wrap our bed in black plastic. We do this because we often grow sweet potatoes in here as well. And if I come in here and take a look, there you go. We can see the garlic coming up. Here we go. Ooh, look at that right there. Fresh coming up. Last season we didn't get any garlic coming up. This season, now that we've protected it over the winter from animals, I'm going to be pulling up this metal grid as well.
and I think this is going to develop quite nicely. But you can see I've got my work cut out for me. I got lots of cleanup to do, but we're going to be spending a whole bunch more time outside now, especially as we start to bring some of our seedlings out that we've started over the winter. And so while I'm going to enjoy this outdoor weather as much as I can, I'm going to be working hard to make sure we've got some great spring content there for you in the very near future. It is so beautiful out here. I cannot wait to show you all the content we've got upcoming. Folks, we hope you enjoyed today's video and you are as excited as we are about finally being outdoors. If you did enjoy today's video, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.